Good morning and welcome back to the Now Morning Show, where we are talking education. The Caribbean Area Network for Quality Assurance in Tertiary Education, Canqate, was established in 2004 as a sub-network of the International Network for Quality Assurance Agencies in Higher Education. The 19th annual Canqate Conference is happening on the 24th and ending on the 27th of October at the Hilton Trinidad. And this morning, joining me to tell me more about it is Dr. Natalie Prasadi, the Associate Professor at UTT and member of Local Organizing Committee for Canqate Conference 2023, as well as Anastasia Marchand-Liquet, is it? Liquet. The Manager of Research Planning and Development for NTA, the member of Local Organizing Committee of Canqate as well, giving us some insight into what will be an exciting time for persons in the education field. Ladies, good morning and welcome to the Now Morning Show.
Thank you so much.
No, I had to have you on because this is the 19th and the marquee event, if you will, of such a very important focus. Tell us a little bit, though, why or what is Canqate and why was it necessary to happen altogether?
So Canqate is a regional body responsible for quality assurance in tertiary education.
Right.
So this is something that they have every year, and in this year in particular, we have 4 main organizations involved. So it's Canqate. It will also be the University of Trinidad and Tobago, and that's where I work. We have the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago, which is ACTT, as well as the National Training Agency. So of course it makes sense that these are the 4 main players that would be involved in something like this.
Now, in terms of what value it brings to the education sector altogether, why is accreditation necessary? Why is that sort of amalgamation of these entities necessary as well?
Accreditation, without accreditation, you're not sure of the quality of the education that you're getting. So one of the roles that ACTT plays, particularly for tertiary education institutions, is to ensure that what they're providing is at the standard that is required, at the level that is required for the persons, whether it be in undergraduate or postgraduate programs or even before that. So we need to ensure that we have that quality assurance component there. And of course, this is also important for employers because we don't want to send graduates out there who are not meeting the requirements of the employers as well.
Right. So it's benefiting everybody. Yes. And we will get into that more with the specifics of who's going to benefit from the actual conference a little bit later on. But now that we've covered the main organizations and in terms of the conference itself, let's get a little more specific. I know there are themes, so what are we looking at this year?
Definitely. So we had long conversations about this and we decided that this year we're going to look at higher quality education and workforce development in the Caribbean. And we're looking specifically at issues, challenges, opportunities, and solutions, because we recognize that you're going to get a bit of both sides, and we have to discuss both sides and see what the best options are. And we're looking at it from a regional perspective. So it's important that we can benefit from what others have learned, and we can share our own
best
experiences.
Practices. That makes sense.
And we also have, coming out of that, we have 4 main themes, sub-themes that came out of it. And of course, what you will find is that these themes represent the interests of the persons who are part of the local organizing committee. So one looks at synergies between employers and educators for enhanced employability. As I just said, you want to make sure that the graduates are able to be employed when they leave the institutions.
Key focus.
Very important. And of course, we have this rising issue about artificial intelligence in higher education quality and workforce development. How do we address issues like that, A third one is looking at higher education for environmentally sustainable development and mitigating the climate change crisis. And the fourth one, of course, coming out of the recent pandemic, we've had a lot of changes. There were many disruptions to the traditional educational models. So one of the issues that arose is we had many practices that came out of that period. How many of them do we keep without compromising quality?
I'm glad that there's that integration and amalgamation. But in terms of the target audience itself, Anastasia, let's get into it a little bit. Who is going to come to this and how do they register?
So we're basically targeting policymakers, higher education leaders in particular. We're also looking at researchers, graduate students, industry representatives, and of course the business sectors. These are our employers. So for that to happen, we need to have them in the conversation.
Right.
And so persons can register at the Canqate website, which is at www.canqate.org/Canqate-2023.
All right, now that's a lot to remember, but we're going to have it up on the screen for those of you who want to do that registration. So it's online, and that means we can pay fees and everything online as well,
Yes, you can. We have, of course, a promotion running this week for virtual participants, so they will, of course, get 25% off. We also have a subsidized rate for residents of Trinidad and Tobago, not just nationals, but residents as well, at $2,800. That gives them access to both main conference days, which would be on October 25th and October 26th. As Dr. Pasadi mentioned, there is a theme on AI, and there's a special pre-conference workshop on AI, which of course would be at a separate cost. It's only for in-person participants. So of course we encourage all residents to be leaders in the Caribbean and actually participate, because virtual participants will not be able to access this pre-conference workshop, and that of course is at an affordable rate of $1,400.
Okay.
TT.
I was just going to get into the AI conversation for that exact reason, but that means you physically need to get into the conversation.
Yes.
Be there or be square, they say. Now, some of the issues that you would be addressed under the themes of employability, Dr. Pasadi, when you discuss synergies between employers and educators, is this going to be a part of the more in-person conversation, or this is going to be accessible to the persons who are virtually joining as well? This is an overarching theme, yes?
Yeah, so this is one of the 4 sub-themes that we have, and that will be accessible to all, whether you're attending virtually or in person. The one that will be accessible only to those in person are the ones who will be attending the workshop on artificial intelligence. So we actually have an esteemed expert coming to facilitate that particular workshop. That's Dr. Curtis Charles. He's actually an expert in digital technology and artificial intelligence, and he has a background in higher education, administration, education generally. And it has to be in person for the simple reason that, unfortunately, we have to do some work. So everybody has to come with their laptops. He's going to give us work to do. And he's probably going to introduce us to things, you know. Well, the most important one for the purposes of education really is this chatbot known as ChatGPT. So he's probably going to introduce us to that and show us how to use it, how we can manipulate it to actually help us with our teaching styles and so on.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I quite like that this is very interactive and actually requires you to do work.
Very practical.
A workshop that gives you practical. That's definitely going to make some impact. Now, let's go back to some of the other sub-themes, rather, in terms of issues that you hope to unearth when we talk about the sustainability of workforce development. You generally mentioned, and I think it was the fact that employers need to have persons who are employable, that are relevant to the industry. How will that be demonstrated in the workshops? Can you give a little insight there?
Right. So what we're looking at there is the synergies between employers and educators. And that's very, very important, because we don't want to keep churning out graduates who don't have the skills and competencies required by the employers. So what we do is we actually talk to employers, and this is something that we do all the time. It's just that something we're highlighting specifically under this particular theme. We have to meet with industry. We have meetings maybe once a semester, which is 2 or 3 times a year, to talk to them and see what do they want from us, what do you need from the persons that you're going to employ, because we want to ensure that the graduates are employable and they're contributing to the workplace. So we have that conversation about 3 times a year. At least I can speak for my institution, and I'm hoping that that's done across the board as well. And we're going to have that discussion as a group to see, for those who aren't so skilled at it, how can we help you do this? You know, talk about some best practices in that particular area.
Sounds good. Anastasia, bring it back into the conversation. I see you nodding emphatically when we talk about these sorts of changes that they will have. But what about the cultural impact and the social impact? What are the opportunities of cultural, or rather for cultural and social impact in the conference? Anything you can add?
Of course. So, of course, we know Trinidad and Tobago is the premier destination in the Caribbean for conference and, you know, business opportunities and business forums. So what we try to offer is a product in terms of Canqate that will embrace and embody what Trinidad has to offer. So we're giving not only the space to create and develop policies, but also to give participants the experience of Trinidad and Tobago. So we have, of course, a banquet dinner, which will be attended by Her Excellency, the President of Trinidad and Tobago. We also have a social mixer, which will be on the Thursday night, which will, of course, have a lot of pan and soca, everything that Trinidad has to offer, all of our foods that we're famous for. And, of course, we're also in line with our theme, which has a measure of sustainability and bringing in the whole issue of the greening of jobs and, sustainability and ecotourism and so on in Trinidad and Tobago. What we're looking at is exposing persons to an eco experience, which will be at the Acerite Nature Center.
Nice.
And that, of course, is also available to residents at a cost of 700 TT. Okay. Which is a subsidized rate. So if you've ever wanted to go, this is the time to go.
That is definitely the time to go. I hear that since they've reopened, it's really lovely. So that's quite the experience. This conference is not just immersive, but incredulously diverse. Yes. We're not just talking, we're doing things. We have activities and work, of course, but we're also exploring Trinbagonian perspective. Yes. That's beautiful. Now, people are going to want to get on board, so we have to tell them how to again. We can go to the website. We can register in person as well?
No, you can register via the website, but if you're having difficulties, you can always just send an email to the Secretariat at Canqate 2023@utt.edu.tt.
Nice. Now, granted, though, that there are so many different facets being covered, is it an option to attend specific conferences and opt out of others so that we have different packages and things of that sort?
There is. So if persons are interested in specific themes, they can attend on that particular day.
Right.
So, of course, that would be at a rate of $17.50 per day if you're not able to attend both days. That day pass will allow you to actually have access to all of the events. So if that day is including the dinner, you will have access to the dinner. If your day includes the social mixer and pan lime, you will have access to that as well. So our rates are affordable and it's also customized. I must also mention that given our target audience also includes researchers, we have a special rate for graduate students at $2,100. That will give them a full access conference pass.
Nice. So they're going to head to that website, comb through and decide what day is best or what method is best for them. But we're making sure that we get in on the action as we continue to strive towards educational excellence. Doctor, is there anything that you want to add specifically? Because, I mean, we've pretty much told them exactly why they need to be there, but anything else you want to share with the people?
Yes, I think that it's important for everyone to attend. I mean, we're having a lot of challenges coming out of our particular sector. So, I mean, it's always good for us to come together to discuss how best we can approach these challenges. And if we do it as a team, it actually works better. And, share the best practices and so on and learn from each other. So I think it's actually a very great opportunity for higher educators as well as employers to come and have this discussion together. I mean, we have a number of stakeholders, and it's important for us to keep this conversation going.
Teamwork makes the dream work in any industry. Totally agree with that. Anastasia, anything you want to add?
So I just wanted to add that at the National Training Agency, one of the things we heavily focus on is quality assurance in TVET. And so we engage employers on a regular basis, simply because the national occupational standards that we develop, they are industry-led. And so any program that is developed offering a vocational training or education that we approve is basically based on that. So this forum is actually very, very innovative and very interesting and very timely in that we're also including new standards. So we're encouraging employers to, of course, join the conversation and have your thumbprint, your input into the development of those things at the conference and find your space, basically, because, of course, education is everyone's business and it is a partnership.
Find your space at the Canqate conference this year. You can do so by checking them out online, and you can head to Canqate Conference 2023 at utt.edu.tt. But I'd say thank you very much to the ladies for joining me this morning. Dr. Natalie Prasadi, the Associate Professor at UTT, and of course Anastasia Marchand Leaquite. Also a research planning and development officer and members of the local organizing committee for the Canqate Conference 2023. Getting on the action, guys, but we do take a break and bring you more action here on the Now Morning Show after these messages.
Education, education.